Courageous Self-Care Podcast. I'm your host, Christina Marlette. On this show, we, of course, are talking about self-care, but it may not be the self-care that you're used to hearing about. There are no instructions on spa appointments or on getting manicures, which is going to the spa usually, or even things like getting enough exercise and sleeping for 8 hours a night and drinking 8 glasses of water a day and eating all the kale you can handle. No, we're not talking about that, although I have a background in that kind of stuff and we could talk about it. But what I find actually makes the biggest difference between living in total chaos and pandemonium and being productive and peaceful at the same time, which is at the other end of the continuum, is what I call courageous self-care. And that means self-care that is not external. There is a time and place for external self-care for sure, but there's also internal self-care. And internal self-care makes a tremendous difference. You can exercise all you want, but if you have something like a terrible body image going on, speaking from personal experience here in the past, then all the exercise and nutrition are not going to do a thing. You've got to take care of what's running the show on the inside first. And that's what we are doing on this podcast. Specializing in internal self-care where it can be scary to go there. And that's why I don't want you to go there alone. Courageous self-care is best done with a guide, and so ta-da, here I am. Now, I've been deeply studying courageous self-care because the idea originally just came to me, and so for the last 2.5 years, I guess it's getting closer to 3 years now, I have been curiously exploring what courageous self-care actually means. And in the last month, I've gotten so much clearer. So you're going to hear a few of the new things in the next several episodes. I'm very excited to share them with you. However, I'm going to honor what I was doing before. So this is the final podcast in the section of one of the Courageous Self-Care Foundations. So, Courageous Self-Care can be divided into 12 foundational skill sets. And that sounds dry and boring. But what is fantastic about these skill sets is that it helps you realize that self-care is a skill. It's not about deserving whether to spend time on yourself. It's not about feeling guilty. It's about learning a new skill. And when you put all of these 12 skill sets together, wow, life just becomes even more magnificent than it already was. And that's coming from someone, me, who has done intensive personal development for the last decade. Life just keeps getting better and better. And I have to attribute a lot of that to what I've learned by learning about and then practicing and teaching courageous self-care. So we're in the skill set of lightening up and having more fun. This is one of the Courageous Self-Care Foundation. Now, that title is not very light or fun. Lighten up and have more fun. Yes, it tells you what it is. But in the last month, I have really come to understand that I'm a lot more fun than I let on. I'm so much more playful. I have ridiculous, silly energy. And I've been doing some different things that have been helping me uncover this energy. So one thing I've done is I'm taking an acting class. And I've been wanting to take an acting class for years, probably at least a decade. And maybe secretly since I dropped out of drama in grade 7. So for a long time, I have wondered if I'm an actor. And yay, I registered in this acting class. I've been thoroughly enjoying it. So that has helped me realize that there's so many different ways you can play a character. And I realize I know absolutely nothing about acting by taking this class. Before I thought, yeah, I can act, I'm sure I can. But now that I'm taking it, I'm realizing, oh my goodness, there is so much more to acting than I thought. So I'm realizing that there are so many dynamics there are so many different ways you can say the same words. It's amazing. I'm loving it. So that's one thing that has helped me notice that there's just more flavor to me than I thought before. Another thing is that I started writing a book. So for the last couple of years, I knew that there was another book in me, and I was doing this podcast and gathering information to get more clear on the book I wanted to write. And I thought it was going to be kind of bland and generic. Well, not those strong words, but I thought it was going to be this guide, a straightforward and spiritual and heartfelt guide to practicing courageous self-care. I have recently started writing it, and it is not that at all. It is still a guide to courageous self-care, but it is funny. It's making me laugh. I'm so enjoying writing it. Sometimes I awake in the middle of the night because I'm just so delighted by what has come through me and what is yet to come, and I look forward to writing it every day, because when my pen hits that piece of paper, it's just comedy that wants to come out. And reading it over to myself, I'm making myself laugh, and then I've been reading it to my daughter Zoe, who's 13, and she's laughing, so I think that's a good sign, because she's actually pretty hard to laugh. So that, partnered with some energy healing that I've been doing with a fabulous practitioner here in Calgary, has helped me realize that, I'm just way more fun than I thought. And I've been using all these silly voices at home and dancing around the house, and it's been great, really playful. So my point is that the title of the foundational skill set, Lighten Up and Have More Fun, is not actually very fun. So I'm renaming all of the skill sets, and I'm really happy with the titles that I've come up with. I'll be revealing them in my book, and I'll be revealing them on the podcast as we go through the different skill sets. But now, this skill set, Lighten Up and Have More Fun, has the new name, which is, Unicorns and Rainbows and Happy Bum. I bet you're curious, which is the point of a title, is to get you intrigued. So, of course, we know unicorns are incredibly light, and we know that rainbows are light being refracted in magical ways. And happy bum, well, that isn't the usual phrase. It is about being so fun in your body, and there's this thing in African dance, which I love to do and teach, called happy bum, and maybe you'll hear more about it on a different episode. For now, all you need to know is that when your bum is shaking and wiggling, it's pretty much impossible to be grumpy. So that is why it is going along with the unicorns and the rainbows. All right, I've done a few episodes in this topic on lightening up and having more fun, unicorns and rainbows and happy bum. I love that new title. I'm very happy. And what I wanted to share with you today, I'm taking some different approaches to injecting more play and lightness and fun and uplifting energy into your life. And I wanted to share an experience that I had over this last year. We knew when we were in our last house that we were going to move because our kids' school there was a new campus being built, and so we rented our last house so that we could be mobile. Last year, their school did in fact move, and we ended up staying in our house a little bit longer than we had anticipated, but eventually we found a new place that we're living in now. Our last house was big. It had 5 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, and it was what I have been used to living in all my life. I've lived in, here in Canada, it's a medium-sized house. It's not a mansion, but for initially 2 people in one house that my husband and I owned, we had 5 bedrooms. And then when we had kids and they started going to the school, we moved so that we could be closer to the school. And we got another house with 5 bedrooms. It's just what we were used to. Then, when we were planning to move, we thought it would be fun to have a different experience and for our kids to experience something new. So we thought maybe we'd like to live in a condo or an apartment or something way smaller. And the reason that this idea occurred to me originally was because I remember being on holiday once and we were in a timeshare, and it was such a nice size. There was plenty of space, but there wasn't extra space to fill up with extra stuff. And I noticed that we could spend a lot more time together as a family. We could do more fun things because the space just fit us better. And I had always been curious about whether that would happen if we actually lived in a space like that. So that's why I wanted to try a condo. And I generally come up with the ideas in my family and then present them to my husband, and he is a firm believer in the saying, a happy wife is a happy life. And so I generally get what I want, which makes me very happy. We found a condo that we wanted to move into, and we knew that we would need to get rid of a bunch of stuff. We just had too much furniture, we had too many belongings, and we thought, yeah, it's going to be important to get rid of stuff. But I was feeling very confident that we could do it because we had been following Marie Kondo's book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. So we'd been purging our belongings for a good year before that. So I was feeling, yes, confident and rather smug that it would be no problem to move into this condo that has 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms and a kitchen and a living room, and that's it. Doesn't have a basement like our last house. And yeah, so we had a big garage sale. We started getting rid of tons of stuff. We took lots of stuff to the Goodwill, and I was feeling really good about the move. However, moving day came, and I was still shocked at how much stuff we still had. After selling so much of it and giving away even more of it, I felt like we had already gotten rid of about half of our belongings. And I was mystified. How do we still have all this stuff? We kept on taking more and more trips back to the house we were moving out of with the moving van, and I was completely bewildered. Like, how is there still this much stuff? It was very frustrating. And then, moving it into our new place, we realized, wow, we have even more to get rid of. So we went through everything again, started fitting things into our new, much tinier space, and taking way more trips to the Goodwill, donating the belongings. But once we got it all, now we have a spot for everything. We've been in here for about 7 months. Now we have spots for everything. And I have to tell you, so this is getting to the point, that having less stuff has really lightened up my energy. In our previous houses, my mind was always thinking, what can we do with this space? How can we use this room? How can we improve what we're doing here, how we're using the space? I didn't realize it, but there was a large chunk of my mental capacity that was constantly being used under my radar, under my conscious thoughts about our space. Then I also realized once we got rid of, it ended up being about 3/4 of our belongings, I realized, wow, stuff has a physical weight and it also has an energetic weight. When we got rid of so much stuff and just kept what we actually use on a regular basis, or what we find to be beautiful and life-enhancing, that freed up so much energy. In our last place, I really struggled to physically move my body in a way that felt joyful. In other words, exercise. And although I'm trained as a phys ed teacher by trade, and dance is very important to me, and I know movement is super important, when we lived there, I just could not make myself do it on a regular basis. I had a rebounder that I would jump on for 10 minutes a day, and I went for walks, and that was about it. When we moved here, I realized when we got rid of all this stuff, oh my gosh, that stuff was an energetic burden. It was draining so much of my energy. That doesn't happen to me here. And part of the benefit is that we moved to a place that's right across the street from this world-class fitness center. So I go there usually 4 to 5 times a week. I just have more energy, and I know that a lot of it is coming from releasing our belongings. It is fascinating to me what a huge difference this has made. I have more energy to be physically active in my body. I have more energy to spend time with my kids. Plus, the cleaning, hello, we used to spend so much time. We used to spend so much time cleaning our house. We had a cleaning schedule and we would do it on a weekly basis. And yeah, it took hours and hours out of every week. Now that we're in our new place, we each clean for an hour, usually on Sunday mornings, and so much more manageable. I'm telling you, I used to think I wanted to live in a huge modern mansion, but now, I don't know if I could do that. I just absolutely love where we live. Plus, I love hotels, and the condo we live in feels like a fancy hotel. There's a fountain in the entrance, which makes me feel like we're in a tropical place. It's so much warmer. In the condo, our old house was drafty, and I was always trying to stay warm, and here my body just easily adjusts. So, I am really happy that I followed my intuition and gave us the family experience of being in a smaller place. It's heavenly. And so what I am conveying to you is that if you have a lot of stuff, there is no doubt that it is drawing on your energy. And as Marie Kondo says in the life-changing magic of tidying up, a person can actually only tend to a finite number of belongings. I feel that is totally true after having gone through that experience. And now that we have that habit, all 4 of us in our family, my kids and my husband and I, we all have the habit of constantly looking around and also sensing energetically, do we have too much stuff? What can we get rid of? So we are often getting rid of things, and what a great habit to be in. So the more stuff you have, I'm telling you, the less energy you have. Now, of course, I always like to make things practical and give you an action step. So I would love to share with you a practice I learned from a program I was in called Your Year of Miracles. It's a feng shui practice, so the ancient Chinese practice of being mindful about the placement of your belongings and their energy. Here's the project that I highly recommend trying. The challenge is to get rid of 27 belongings every day for 9 days in a row. The 27 belongings can be single items, or if you had like a lot of paper or files around, a belonging could be a stack of paper. So you just go through your stuff for 9 days, and each day you get rid of 27 items. What to do with the items? So I like to put them in 3 piles. So one is garbage, one is donations, and one is consignment. And then if you miss a day, you start again. What you may notice is that on the first few days, you really get into it and get overzealous and end up getting rid of hundreds of belongings. But the way that I found the process to work the best is sticking close to the 27 items each day, and definitely by the end of the 9 days, taking the consignment stuff away, taking the donations away, and then throwing out the garbage or recycling the recyclables. What else do I want to tell you about that? Well, what this process does is it releases energy. And if you have been feeling blocked in any way of your life, this can create an incredible opening for you. When you physically get rid of stuff, especially stuff that you're no longer using or that has energetic ties to it, like you're keeping a gift that you don't like because you don't want to hurt the other person's feelings, that all weighs you down. And essentially gives you these energetic attachments to the belongings and to the people. So that doesn't serve you. And then when you release it and let it go and know that it's going to someone who's actually going to enjoy it, or it's going into the garbage because it's actually garbage, it feels amazing. So if you want to try that out, of course, the beginning of the year is a great time to do that. And I highly recommend it. The first time I did it, I got rid of lots of clothes that weren't the current me anymore. And not too long afterwards, I had the idea, wouldn't it be amazing if, I had lots of space in my closet, so I thought, wouldn't it be amazing if I got a shopping spree and could get new clothes for free? And that idea it came from a book I was reading, actually. And then not too long afterwards, it ended up happening. Not in the way that I anticipated, but I did end up getting the opportunity to go through a friend's boutique and choose several outfits, and they were gifted to me. It was amazing. So things like that can happen. And they do happen because energetically things can't stay the same when you get rid of stuff. So I highly recommend trying out this process. Mark it in your calendar, day 1 through 9. Commit to getting rid of 27 items a day for 9 days. Don't miss a day or else you have to start again. And then watch and have expectant, cheerful expectation that something amazing is going to happen. Highly recommend it. So that is your action step on how you can experience more unicorns, rainbows, and happy bum. You might notice that you start shaking and wiggling while you're doing the clearing and purging because your energy is getting so light. All right, so that is what I wanted to share with you today. I hope that it has been useful, and I want to finish off with I want to offer you a resource and tell you about something new that I'm doing, and then we'll wrap it up. So it's useful to do exercises like the one I just suggested, and it's also useful to do reflection and exercises where there's writing involved or incorporating new things into your day. So what I created for you is a resource called the Daily Self-Care Checklist. And this is not just a checklist. It's very beautiful. I love how it looks visually. There is a checklist in there, but it's also a teaching on how you can strategically and in the flow with ease incorporate some of the courageous self-care principles into your life. So if you're running around always feeling like you have on the run and stuff is flying out behind you because you're in a rush and you're running from one place to the next and you feel like you're busy and overwhelmed and you're not coping with that chaos in the way that you would like, this checklist can really help. Courageous self-care is in the middle of that chaotic situation and the other end of you being productive and getting stuff done and enjoying it, but also having groundedness and peace and grace in your life. I really think that courageous self-care is in the middle. It's the bridge between those two edges. So I invite you to access that resource. It's at my website, ChristinaMarlette.com. It's called the Daily Self-Care Checklist. You'll see it on the homepage there. And then I want to alert you to the fact that when you download or when you access that checklist by putting in your name and email, you will get access to something that is secret. So this doesn't go out to people who just visit my website, but because you are listening and I want to honor and value you, what happens next is you get to do a $1 trial of the coaching program that I'm running, the monthly coaching program, which is called the Monthly Self-Care Tune-Up. And it's a live 90-minute call on Zoom where I go into the principles and teach a lot more deeply about the skill sets, and then I do personal coaching and answer questions and give out prizes. So what you can do is you can get a 7-day trial for $1, and then you get to check out the last 3 months of tune-ups for 7 days. And if you love it, you can join us in the monthly self-care tune-up as a member. and it's just $47 a month for teachings that are truly going to transform your life. Getting on that bridge of courageous self-care so you can get to the other side where your life is fun and enjoyable, and there's way more happy bum and way more rainbows and unicorns along with the other teachings. So I'd love to alert you to that fact, and if it's not for you, no problem, but you do have the opportunity to try out the last 3 months for just $1. So it's quite a deal. All right, so I hope this has served you. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can give it a like on whatever platform you're listening to. You can leave a comment. You can share it with a friend who you know could use some courageous self-care and a little more lightness and fun in his or her life. And I really, really appreciate you. There are listeners for this podcast all over the world, and I am sending you lots of love to whatever country you're in. The podcast is getting close to 9,000 listens and downloads in less than a year, so I'm really happy about that. And I really thank you for listening, because you are making that happen. And even more importantly, you are taking action to learn about self-care, which truly is going to be a changing factor in human consciousness. We can't go around being busy and crazy and running on empty. It doesn't serve us. And that's an old paradigm. So the new paradigm is women in particular who prioritize our well-being, who are leaders, who show other women that, yes, we can have families, we can have careers, we can contribute to our communities, but we don't need to do it in a frazzled, running on empty, chaotic way. We can do it where we are in charge of our energy. We know how to maximize it. We are coming from this place of overflow so that we can give with love and generosity and fullness. That's the world I want to live in, and that is the world that you are living in by listening to this podcast. So I thank you deeply. I look forward to connecting with you again next time. Bye-bye for now.